Hi, everybody. Welcome today to Staying Competitive and Attracting Skilled Talent. We're going to get started in a few minutes. Jen is our tech support, and she's just letting people into the room because we've got a full house today. Um, I wanted to let everybody know that the session's being recorded, so you don't have to take major notes. Welcome. We're glad to see you today. We think it's going to be a great session. So I just want to say hi. My name is Kathy Burrell, and I'm WeBC's Client Services Coordinator. And before we get started, I wanted to acknowledge that we're gathered here today on the traditional and unceded territory of the Okanagan Syilx people. We recognize, honor, and respect the presence of Indigenous people, past, present, and future. And we offer these sessions to everybody living in BC, but we've recently had more people joining us from Manitoba and Saskatchewan and Ontario. So if you're not sure exactly what traditional territory you're on, Jen is going to put it into our chat box, and you can go ahead and take a look at the map, and we'd love for you to just say hi in the chat, your first name and the territory you're joining us from, because we always like to know that where everybody is finding this information and if they're enjoying it. Okay, we're also going to be doing a feedback poll today. We usually do them at the end of every session, and what happens is we try to end right on time, and when the feedback poll comes up, we ask you to just spend a minute to fill it out. But if you have a burning question, something that you're dying to know, you want a presenter in the future to talk about here at WeBC, we encourage you to put that into the feedback poll. Just a couple of a sentence or two on what topic would really interest you, and we will try to get that to you because this is actually part one of a series. So we're hoping that everybody else is interested in more than this, and we're hoping to give it to you. Okay, so I'm just going to tell everybody a little bit about what we offer today. So at WeBC, we provide support for your small business journey. We offer financing to get businesses started and operating capital to fuel your growth. We offer more flexibility than traditional lenders because we take a holistic approach and provide loans based on your business's viability, not based on formulas. And if any of you have ever tried to apply for a loan with a bank, that's what's called formula lending. So this means we provide loans to a diverse range of women-owned businesses and support you with integrated services, including complementary training, mentoring, and business advising. So if there's one thing you take away from what we offer, if you were to get a loan with WeBC and the loan was for a 5-year term, we would offer you complimentary, free business advising, training, and mentoring for the entire term of your loan. So that is our big superpower here at WeBC. So from essential business skills development to personalized business advice, we know the right questions to ask and the right resources to connect you with. In our mentoring programs, you can connect with a network of women entrepreneurs and experts all around BC who can support and inspire you. And you can learn more about our services by going to our website. And our website is super simple, www.we-bc.ca. And Jennifer will put that in the chat as well. And the last thing we wanted to really mention is that you can sign up for our e-blast newsletter on our website, and Jen will put the link in the chat as well. And our e-blasts come out once a month, and you can see all the great offerings that WeBC is doing with regards to sessions like these We Cafes, and you can sign up right from the e-blast. So we'd love for you to sign up for our e-blast newsletter. Okay, so today's session. We'd like to welcome today Darcy Bromley, who's the Outreach Officer with Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada. And we'd like to welcome Evan Rose, who's a Stakeholder Engagement Advisor. In this two-part series, we are going to explore how Canada's immigration programs can help your business to attract and retain skilled talent, and how the Competition Bureau ensures a fair marketplace. Darcy Bromley will guide you through free services for employers seeking to navigate the immigration process, while Evan Rose and Darcy Bromley will introduce you to the Competition Bureau's role in promoting healthy communities. And we all know this is a really timely topic, and we're so pleased that Darcy and Evan can be with us here today. So go ahead, Jen, you can turn off our slides and we'll throw it over to Darcy. I think Darcy, you're first, right? Oh, Evan's first. Hey,
I'm Hey. Yeah, I'm happy to go first. Just give me a moment to share my screen
no problem.
And get that presentation up for you. Sorry also if I'm kind of jumping the gun on introductions.
We wanted to let everybody know as well that Evan and Darcy will be sharing an email with all of you in the follow-up email. So if you have questions that you don't get answered today and you want to contact the Competition Bureau, that's completely up to you. And sometimes a day or two after you've been in a session and you've had time to think about the question, it's fantastic. And we really appreciate that, Darcy and Evan.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to take questions at any point, and especially afterwards. I know sometimes throwing a question in the chat or unmuting yourself, it's not always the most comfortable. So feel free to reach out to me afterwards or any of our team. But with that, let me share my screen and I will kick off the presentation. Now, can everyone see the presentation?
We can't just yet, Darcy. We can see a screen that says Darcy Bromley, but that's about it.
Evan.
Oh, sorry, Evan. Do you see anything, Jen? Oh, there we go. Excellent.
Gotcha. Okay.
And you're set.
Presentation up. Okay. Well, first of all, I appreciate you for having me here today. I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about the Competition Bureau. I'm sure quite a few of you haven't heard of us before, and that's all right. That's why we're doing this type of outreach, because we're aware that our awareness is pretty small, specifically amongst small and medium-sized businesses. But that, frankly, is kind of the most important area that we want to increase our awareness, because we get the most engagement and we get the most feedback from businesses who are extremely active and are impacted by competition laws. So as a bit of a background, I'm an outreach and engagement advisor at the Competition Bureau. And for the past 4 years, I've been working in the outreach side of things for the Competition Bureau. But 4 years prior to that, I was working in the enforcement branches, focusing on enforcing the law with business collusion, so what we call cartels. So that's a bit about me, a bit of the presentation. We're going to cover some basic information about the Competition Bureau and competition law itself, with an emphasis on how it impacts you, small business owners and operators. We're then going to talk about the Competition Bureau in ways that we protect and promote competition in Canada. And then we're going to talk about specific actions that you guys can implement to ensure that you're compliant with the law. And then I'll leave you all with some resources that we've created specifically to help businesses like yours, small and medium-sized businesses that won't otherwise get the type of communication that maybe larger businesses would. So classic disclaimer, anything that I say here, it's all of my own views and all of that fun stuff. So I just want to draw that line of liability, and we can move on from that. So yes, jumping straight in, first and foremost, healthy competition is very important to the health of all businesses. It drives lower prices and it fuels innovation while also increasing economic growth. So At the Bureau, we watch out for a number of different types of private sector and government action that may harm competition amongst businesses. On the private sector side, competition can be harmed through business conduct or changes to market structure. For example, businesses colluding to fix price, so agreeing with a competitor to set a price, or through a merger that might end up greatly diminishing the intensity of competition in a market. We'll get to a few examples later on that will kind of illuminate that. This type of behavior, it ultimately hurts small and medium-sized business and consumers. It makes it hard to enter the market, and it makes it difficult for businesses who are in that market to scale, given that really fierce and sometimes illegal competitiveness. But we have, like I said, we have specific examples that will kind of highlight the private restraints on competition later on. But regarding public restraints, it might be a little bit of a foreign concept for some of the businesses if you're not in regulated industries. But government policies, they're perfectly legitimate with public policy controls, but sometimes it's a bit of a barrier for companies to grow and scale in a market. So you might think security or health, finance, things like that. These government barriers may actually be an impact on competition. And that's why the Bureau, we have a perspective where we get feedback and advice, which we then package to regulators and policymakers to help minimize those barriers to competition, from looking at it from a perspective that we call a pro-competitive lens. Ultimately, what this does is it supports productivity, innovation, growth, et cetera, all while still respecting the public policy goals on the side. So with that being said, you might be thinking to yourself, what does competition law have to do with me? I'm a small business. And the reality is that these laws that we enforce, they apply to all businesses in Canada, big and small. And sadly, ignorance is not a defense of the law. Hate to admit it, but because businesses generally don't know about who we are, it is something, sadly, that we hear quite often, that because they didn't know about us, they didn't know it was illegal, et cetera, et cetera. So here are a few examples of how I can illustrate these laws could affect you in your operations. If you want to bid on government contracts, which obviously Darcy will talk a little bit more about later, you need to know the law related to what's called bid rigging, so that you avoid potential misconduct. We'll touch on this later, but essentially you want to make sure that you're making your bids in private and ensuring the most competitive advantage that you have when you're applying for a bid. Another example, if your business has online reviews or invests in influencer marketing, which is incredibly common right now, there are deceptive marketing provisions in Canada's competition law that apply to you. So if you pay for ads, it's called astroturfing. If you pay for an influencer to review your product and you don't make that explicitly clear, it's deceptive marketing, sadly. One last example, let's say that your company builds widgets or uses widgets in its production, but the supplier of that crucial part of the widget, they're locked up in a long-term contract. And this long-term contract is exclusive with a major competitor of yours. The dominant widget maker in the market essentially has made it difficult for you to compete and scale and grow, which kind of draws an immediate line to why it's important to know about competition law, not just from I want to stay offside or onside the law, sorry, I don't want to be offside the law, and then also knowing about it so you can help protect yourself in your operations moving forward. So a bit about the Competition Bureau now. So you can see why competition law, matters to a business's operation. But to focus on the Bureau, I'll highlight a few important points about the Bureau's role and ideally dispel some common misconceptions that people have. Most importantly, the Competition Bureau, we focus on protecting and promoting the competitive process in the market. We don't protect individual competitors in a market like a particular business. We aren't here to pick winners and losers or anything like that, so to speak. The Bureau also isn't a price regulator. We don't determine what the right or the wrong price is for a particular product or service. We're an investigation agency, so our role is to determine the facts. And if we feel like the law has been broken, we can take the case to court or refer it to federal prosecutors. That means that we aren't a decision maker about what's illegal or legal. We leave that entirely up to the judge. We also can't really give legal advice, which I'm sure you can understand, but we do have resources for businesses to understand how to comply with the law. And like I said, we'll share all these resources at the end of the presentation, but a little bit about what we do and what we don't do. So now that we've talked a little bit about that, we could talk about how the Bureau protects competition through our enforcement work. And this is the part of the presentation about private restraints on competition that I mentioned earlier. So our enforcement work kind of gets broken up into 4 different areas, as you can see here. In the left, we have business cartels, which is where I used to work before promotion. This is criminal conduct where businesses collude instead of compete with each other. And you can kind of picture this in an instance where employers are agreeing with each other on what to pay their employees. Competitors also agreeing to fix the prices of products and services or to divvy up geographical markets amongst themselves. Another kind of example is businesses secretly agreeing to essentially rig bids for government contracts, but also private contracts, and not making that clear. Moving on from cartels, just below it, we have deceptive marketing practices. And I think this is, one area of the law that is rather intuitive to most businesses, that making false or misleading claims about a product or service, it's offside the law. And you can kind of think of this as like, adding mandatory fees to the price of a product without disclosing that, or making performance claims about a product without backing it up properly. These are all things that are deceptive in nature and could be offside the law. There's a wide range of marketing practices, as I'm sure you can imagine, that could be deceptive, and every business needs to know that these laws exist and also how to stay onside the law. But moving on from that, we have monopolistic practices. I think another area which a lot of people can kind of intuitively understand, but if you've played the board game, which I'm sure a lot of people have, you know that the one with all the power can make it really difficult for any of the other players to compete. And it's no different in a real world scenario with competition law. This could look like, a dominant company abusing its market power to stop a business from entering the market or being able to compete effectively, essentially. That being said, simply being a large business, it's not inherently against the law. It doesn't mean that they're abusing their power. But when they do abuse their power, it is considered a monopolistic practice. It's also important to know about this law particularly because as a small and medium-sized business, you might be impacted by a larger player in the market, and you might want to share information with us if you do feel like you're being pushed out of the market, or a larger player in the market is kind of putting their thumb on the scale, so to speak, and making it more difficult for you to compete. Knowing what to do with that information is crucially important. So moving on to the final part is mergers and acquisitions. So the Competition Bureau, we can review and challenge pretty much any merger or acquisition in Canada, big or small, which is why we think essentially the goal for this is to prevent or lessen any anti-competitive conduct in the market. So anything that would substantially lessen competition, we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So if there's a merger that could impact your market, we want to hear about that. That's pretty much the only way that we will be able to take action in the market, is if we have reliable information from people who may be impacted by that. So, business owners like yourselves. So those are the 4 different areas that the Bureau kind of helps protect competition in Canada. But moving on from here, we have some recent cases. And you may have heard of a few of the recent cases. like the Loblaw's bread price fixing scheme, where Loblaws and others had attempted to fix the price of bread over a number of years. You may have also heard of one of our cases with Rogers and Shaw. Rogers, attempted to acquire Shaw. The Competition Bureau ultimately saw that as anti-competitive in nature. We didn't move forward with that, sadly, but the courts decided against it, which we still feel our own type of way about. But another one is Rogers allegedly making deceptive claims about their unlimited data plans, which I think kind of hits close to home with a lot of people. But the reason I'm highlighting these is that most of the cases that the Bureau takes, they're actually focused on smaller and medium-sized businesses. But this is not illustrative in the news articles that most people see and have that recognition with the Competition Bureau. So to illuminate a little bit of a different example, the Bureau last year just investigated a bid rigging scheme in Brandon, Manitoba. If anyone's from Winnipeg, then you know this suburb city just outside. But it was 5 individual contractors who were charged in relation to almost 90 different contracts that totaled up with about $4.5 million. Each of these 5 contractors were small businesses. Obviously, 90 contracts is a lot, but it just kind of highlights that although it's not in the news, it is still very prevalent. So we talked about the enforcement mandate. We talked about a few examples. I want to stop and kind of talk about the promotion aspect of the Competition Bureau. So the Bureau is the competition expert in Canada, and we advocate for pro-competitive policies at all levels of government, from federal to provincial and municipal. And we advocate for these pro-competitive policies to minimize barriers that could otherwise distort competition in the market. And this can range from new or existing federal laws or policies all the way to local bylaws that could impact competition on a smaller scale. Here's a few examples of things that we've done in the past to help eliminate barriers to competition. Digital healthcare, something called interoperability, so the ability for software to speak to each other. It made it really difficult for smaller players to gain access to out-of-province medical data, strictly due to how the information is tracked and communicated from system to system. And it made it very difficult for smaller players to kind of scale and compete with the more established firms in the healthcare industry. Another example is in the fintech industry. They heard the businesses in the fintech industry, the government heard in the fintech industry, that there was antiquated banking policies, which made it really difficult for new entrants to enter and compete. And that was clear in the laws, and it was not an isolated issue with that. So the Bureau interviewed a number of fintech companies from across Canada, and we gathered information about these barriers to provide recommendations to policymakers, essentially a roadmap in how to make that industry more competitive. So for this to work, we do need feedback from businesses. So you're all very busy people, and I would say, thinking about competition issues, it's not on the top of your mind, but think about maybe going to your local chamber or coming to an organization like WBC and saying, we're seeing this, and WBC is more than happy to connect resources and people like myself that can assist you in essentially being part of the solution, ensuring that there's more pro-competitive policies. And there's a bit more resource information about that later on. But moving on, I would say that this is one of the most key points of the presentation. You're probably asking yourself, it's great to know about the Competition Bureau, good to know about the laws you enforce, you protect and promote competition. What do I do with all of this information now? How do I protect myself and my business? And the first line of defense is what we call a compliance program. And compliance program, you may be familiar with it, but it's a set of policies, procedures, or practices that a business adopts to ensure that it complies with some sort of, a set of laws. And compliance programs, they can be created for businesses of any size. Doesn't matter how big or small, how many people in the business. contractors or not. It doesn't even have to cost a lot of money or take a whole department of people to execute that effectively. It really is what we call creating a culture of compliance from within the business. And at the end of the presentation, like I said a million times, we've got some resources about that. More than happy to share it. But I wanted to highlight a number of key takeaways. There's a lot of information, and I'm sure a lot of you, it's the first time hearing about the Competition Bureau. So I wanted to highlight 4 key areas. First one, Competition Bureau, we protect and promote competition in Canada. The next is that healthy competition means small businesses have a better chance at scaling and competing and growing within your industry. The third point, small businesses should know about the law and how to comply, but also how to spot and potentially report misconduct by others in the market who may be abusing competition. And the fourth is share information with us. We're here to help, and we're real people. We're living, breathing people who want to know about your experiences, and we want to make sure that you are getting a fair shake at competing in your market. So we want to make sure that nobody's being taken advantage of in any capacity, that you can grow and scale in whatever that means. So on that note, if you ever do need to report misconduct by others, or if you have questions for the Competition Bureau or me, you can get in touch with us super easily by phone. You can fill out a form on our website or by mail if that's your thing. That's also fine. And then the QR code on the screen, it takes you to our very plain language compliance hub. And the compliance hub is really just, it's the easiest way to learn about the Competition Bureau, how to set up a compliance program, some tips related to each area of the law that we had talked about, and then also it's a short video series about competition law that we like to point people towards. So with that, I really appreciate everyone's attention and listening to me today. It's been fantastic, and I will hand it back to the amazing staff organizing.
Thanks, Evan. That was great. And we don't really have any questions in the chat, and that's understandable because I would say that probably 90% of the people that are on the call today were unfamiliar with the Competition Bureau. So thank you very much for all your resources. And yes, I'm sure people will be in touch after they've had a little time to digest. So
Absolutely.
Darcy, yeah, great. Thanks, Evan. And Darcy, over to you. And Darcy, you're muted.
Sorry, my screen changed once I shared my screen. So
Of
just want to
course.
make sure that you can see the slides. I got the slides there.
We can. It looks great.
Perfect. Okay, wonderful. Okay, well, so thank you so much for the invitation to speak today and for WeBC for organizing this. Really, my goal today is to provide 5 strategies and 5 tools that are designed to help your business grow and succeed. So, as an outreach officer with Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, or otherwise known as IRCC, I help businesses learn how Canada's economic immigration programs can be used to support your hiring needs and help drive economic growth. So, in case you're not familiar, Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada is the federal department responsible for immigration. So, final decisions around issuing work permits or issuing permanent resident visas and citizenship rests with our department. So here is a rare find. I want to go into strategy number 1. There are free supports personalized for your business needs. So strategy number 1 is really to make use of the available resources that are here for you. So what this resource is, it's a free resource for employers looking to grow their businesses. It's a niche program from IRCC, Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, where outreach officers such as myself provide support to businesses trying to navigate the immigration system. So our dedicated service channel outreach team supports employers by providing tailored information sessions such as today, We offer one-on-one meetings to discuss immigration options. We assist with various questions, and we gather your feedback to enhance immigration programs and policies. So really, our aim is to simplify your experience with Canada's immigration system while addressing your workforce needs.
Darcy, it's Kathy Burrell. I just have a question.
Yes.
So, are your services for if somebody were to contact you and only wanted 2 employees or 3 employees, do you have any sort of restriction on the amount of people that your program would be able to help the business owner with?
No, it's for any size. And so if you were a larger company who had lots of employment needs, we would have an account manager assigned to you. But for the small needs, one-offs, that's myself, people like myself across the country who will meet with you and answer your questions.
Great, that's perfect. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Okay, wonderful. So here's a resource to go along with this. This QR code will take you to the page outlining services offered for employers to help attract global talent. And you can email us directly with your questions. You can also sign up for virtual learning sessions to go more into depth. We offer them a couple of times a year around immigration programs. And in British Columbia, we have 2 officers, outreach officers like myself, located in the Lower Mainland, but we also have outreach officers across the country. So if you are joining today from other provinces, you can reach out to the promotion email that's on the screen, and you can connect with someone in your community.
Great.
So strategy number 2 is hiring international talent to meet temporary needs. And when you're not able to find talent locally, then immigration is an important tool to meet your needs and whatever your needs are. If it's specialized talent that you're looking for that you can't locate here in Canada. So really looking to international talent to augment your pools of talent that's currently in Canada, and if you're not able to find local talent. So really what we want people to know around immigration is that Canada is open for business. In 2025, Canada plans to give permanent resident status to almost 400,000 applicants, accept over 300,000 new students, and allow over 367,000 new workers to enter the country. So while the number of newcomers in Canada has been reduced this year to address, a number of concerns and needs, we are continuing to welcome newcomers who bring the skills that are needed in our economy. And so really the 2025 immigration plan focuses on attracting skilled workers who will contribute to, it will continue to contribute to Canada's economy. And this is a plan that's available for anybody to read on the Immigration Refugees website. So here's another resource. This tool is on the IRCC webpage to assist individuals in determining available options when seeking a work permit. So this QR code will take you to a tool that asks the individual a series of questions to provide guidance on the type of work permits that an individual may be eligible for. And so it points them into the right direction as to what avenue they might need to take in order to qualify for a work permit to work temporarily in Canada. But as employment business owners, I also want to provide you with a brief overview of what is required when you hire the talent in Canada. So there are specific requirements that workers need to meet depending on where they're coming from, what type of work permit they're looking for, what are their skills and their language profiles. But generally, someone needs to demonstrate that they will leave Canada once their work permit expires. They need to show that they have enough funds and money to support themselves while they're here in Canada, and that they're basically of good character, that they'll obey the laws, that they're not going to be a danger to Canadian security, that they're going to be in good health. And then I just want to make sure that you're familiar with a key resource that is used in immigration. It's something called the National Occupation Classification Code, or the NOC code. In federal government, we love our acronyms. So if you're hiring foreign workers, this is something that you'll soon become familiar with. But it's a tool that is used for hiring workers to just identify what is the job that they're going to be doing. And so the knock codes will identify the job and the skills and the education that is needed for each position. And really what's important for today's discussion is to know that the types of immigration programs that are available for most categories are those in those higher skilled jobs, in the management jobs, the professional jobs. So in the tiers 0, 1, 2, and 3. So for most of the immigration programs that we talk about, the job that you're offering needs to be in one of those higher skilled levels. And there are two programs that are available for hiring foreign workers. First, there's the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, and this is the basic program. And so really it aims to protect Canadian labor market by ensuring that Canadians and permanent residents are given first opportunities to apply for the available jobs. And so before being able to hire a foreign worker to fill a position, an employer needs to apply for what is called a Labor Market Impact Assessment, otherwise known as an LMIA, to confirm that there is need for a temporary foreign worker and that there aren't any Canadians available to do the job. The second program is called the International Mobility Program, and this is the alternative to the Temporary Foreign Worker Program. This program allows employers to hire temporary workers without a labor market impact assessment, and it's in support of the broader economic, social, and cultural goals of Canada. This includes streams for international trade, for Francophone immigration, for youth mobility programs, and I'll talk a bit more about those on the next slide. But really what's important to know is that using the International Mobility Program can help employers save time and fees when you're hiring a foreign worker.
Darcy, it's
Yes.
Kathy Burrell again. I just have another question.
Okay.
How many other countries or how many countries that are involved in this program? Like, where would the people be coming from to Canada? Is it a large amount of countries or just a couple?
Okay, so under the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, you can get an LMIA. If you get a labor market impact assessment, you can hire from anywhere. So it's up to you as an employer to determine, where have I found the talent that I need, and you can bring someone in from there. Under the International Mobility Program, it depends. Like under a free trade agreement, we have I think there's 13 free trade agreements with various countries. The ones that people might be most familiar with is the Canada, US, America Free Trade Agreement. But we have with over 13 countries, or 13 free trade agreements, but they include a lot more different countries. So there's like a Korea, Canada Free Trade Agreement. And so each agreement you have to go in and look at and to determine if that person might be eligible. So say you were looking for a veterinarian, say you're a small veterinarian clinic, you wanted a veterinarian. Canada has a free trade agreement with Korea that allows veterinarians to come to Canada to work as a veterinarian without a labor market impact assessment.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So like another example would that be, say, Francophone immigration. So we do have a program where we're trying to increase the number of French speakers outside of Quebec. And so if you hire someone who is a French speaker, they can qualify for a work permit without going through that labor market impact assessment process. So that person could come from anywhere, but if you're also looking for someone who is a French speaker, you might want to go to a Francophone country to try to attract talent. Yeah, so this just has a list of some of the different programs that are available. There's over 100 different exemptions. So this is where we say, call us and we can help you walk through some of that if you have questions.
Wonderful.
And here's one other tool that might be available to you. It's called the Global Skills Strategy. And really what this is it has the objective of facilitating employer access to the highly skilled workers in order for your company to succeed in the global marketplace. And so it's for individuals in those tier 0 and tier 1 occupations. So in management or university level types of programming. And so under this category, work permits can be issued in as little as 2 weeks, which is quite significant when you know some of our other processing times. So I just wanted to move on and talk about another strategy for your business, and it's about the retention of talent. If you have found an employee who has the right talent, how can you support them on their permanent resident journey? And so that's what the next strategy is about. As I've said, Canada has a number of different pathways for which individuals can come to Canada, but also for a permanent residence. And over 60% of the numbers who are selected to come to Canada are from our economic categories, such as Canadian Experience Class and the Temporary Foreign Worker Skilled, um, the Federal Skilled Worker category, which is really aimed at bringing in the right talent and keeping the right talent in Canada. And so really the aim is to transition more temporary residents who are already in Canada, say as a worker or as a student, to permanent residents and focusing on the long-term economic growth in key labor market sectors such as health and skilled trades. So it's anticipated that more than 40% of the overall number of permanent residents who are admitted in 2025 will be those who are already in Canada and coming like wanting to stay after they've been here as a student or as a worker. So really that's a good news story for those who are looking to retain the workers that they have. Express Entry is Canada's flagship application management system. So those who are most likely to succeed economically in Canada are invited to apply for permanent residence, and they also benefit from faster processing. So the support to support economic goals, immigration prioritize specific categories of candidates. Last year, it was on healthcare, on construction, on STEM occupations, and we're still waiting to see what the categories will be for 2025. Under Express Entry, there are several programs that are aimed at ensuring skilled talent have a pathway to remain in Canada. Federal Skilled Worker Program is for skilled workers who have work experience and want to become permanent residents. Applicants must meet a minimum requirement of work experience. They need to have a specific level of language and education. The Canadian Experience category is for those who have Canadian work experience and want to become permanent residents. And then under provincial nominee programs, each province is given a certain number of allocations each year to select the residents that are wanted and the skills that are needed for that province. And so the criteria is set by the province in British Columbia, by the BC Provincial Nominee Program, and they have a certain number of allocations that they're able to select for each year. So I'd like to highlight another tool on the immigration website that assists an individual in the determining potential for qualifying for permanent residence. It's called the Comprehensive Ranking System Calculator. And often what I'll say to an employer is that if you have someone who's wanting to stay in Canada permanently, you've hired them on a work permit, have them use this tool to determine whether or not they are likely to be selected for permanent residence. And so generally, it's on a point-based system. Those who have the higher points are more likely to be invited to apply for permanent residence. Often it's in that they need about 525 to 550 points in the most recent draws in order to qualify for permanent residence. So another strategy that I'd like to highlight is looking for international talent that's already in Canada. There are a number of local service provider organizations that IRCC funds around across Canada, and they're in a variety of communities across the province. And so it's a fantastic resource for employers seeking skilled newcomers in the community. These organizations, as I said, receive funding from IRCC, and they help newcomers settle in Canada. So as an employer, you can tap into the pool of work-ready newcomers who are already in Canada by reaching out to your local service provider organization. And really, it's an efficient and cost-effective way to identify talent because you don't have to go through some of those other immigration processes that can be quite costly. And there are many more categories of work permit holders in Canada, but one of the categories is someone who's what we refer to on an open work permit. And so this is a key group to consider for hiring, because if someone has what is called an open work permit, it allows them to work for any employer in Canada. And so it might be people who are in Canada filing asylum claimants. It might be spouses of skilled work permit holders in Canada, or those who are already in Canada on what we call a working holiday program. And so I always say you go up to the ski hills and you hear, say, Australian accents. And a lot of those people are in Canada on a working holiday program. And often they get an open work permit for a year or 2 years that allows them to work for any employer. So it's a great opportunity for an employer sort of to determine fit for the individual and whether or not you want to pursue additional immigration options for this individual if you've hired them. International students can often work off campus while they're going to school. So they can work up to 24 hours a week while they're in full-time studies. And so this is a great option. Again, go to your local school to determine if there's some talent that you can hire on a part-time basis while they're in school. And then look towards those long-term solutions if this is somebody that you want to hire and retain permanently. In addition to that, some individuals also get an open work permit for up to 3 years following their graduation from a Canadian school. So if they have attended school in Canada, obtained a degree, they may be eligible for an open work permit, and they can work for you for the duration of that work permit. Here's one other tool. It's the Job Bank, which offers free tools and resources that can help you find temporary foreign workers or newcomers in Canada. And so I'd suggest that you go to I just forgot the email address. But if you just Google Job Bank, it has lots of details around the labor market, and also for those who are looking for jobs within Canada. And it has a job matching tool. So people who've applied for permanent residence can put their information in there, and that can match them to employers as well. And then just to highlight another tool on the IRCC webpage, this is the list of settlement service providers across Canada, but you put in your postal code and it will tell you who is the closest organization that would potentially have information about the pools of newcomers in your community. There's one other tool that I'd like to highlight, and it's called the Public Employment Agency. So many countries offer services that specialize in international recruitment to help their citizens find work abroad. So these are government-sponsored recruitment options where they're trying to export some of their talent. And so outreach officers from within the dedicated service channel of the unit that I work with can direct you to the services that will help best meet your needs. And often these are for Francophone organizations. And so if you're looking for someone who's a French speaker, because they might be exempt from the labor market impact assessment processes. And then just strategy number 5, I always think it's important to know your obligations as an employer. And, what we ask, and what we want to highlight is that, as an employer, really, first and foremost, you need to be a good employer. So this includes complying with all the labor laws, ensuring that the wages and the conditions match what you included in your job offer. And so just making sure that you're aware of what your responsibilities are as an employer of someone who is not a Canadian or not a permanent resident. So this QR code will take you to the page outlining your obligations in more detail, so that you are aware of that. And then finally, how to contact us. And so this QR code will take you to our page that we offer services for employers, and our generic email address for anybody across Canada. And if you're in your British Columbia, you can reach out to me either through directly or to the promotion email box. And so the services that we offer are to employers only, not to individuals who are looking for information about their own immigration status, but we're happy to help you around trying to find your talent that you're looking for.
Thanks so much, Darcy. That was a great presentation. And again, I don't think a lot of our clients think that if you're a small business, you would be able to access your services for free, which is pretty incredible. So, thank you so much for that. And I'm sure we don't really have any questions yet, but I'm sure you will receive some questions in the next week or so. So, again, thank you to Darcy and Evan. Darcy talked about immigration, Evan talked about the Competition Bureau, and you might not see the connection yet, but there is a big connection. So, thank you so much for being here today. Um, I also wanted to let Sarah Ann kind of talk a little bit about uh, Procurement Assistance Canada today. She's got a few announcements, and if you didn't know, PAC is one of our sponsors of these sessions, and they do some really great work with small to medium-sized businesses. So, Sarah Ann, go ahead. You don't have any slides? I would assume it just you.
Right, no slides. And Sarah, you mind just taking off the screen,
Sure,
the so I
Jen
can
can
see
do
her?
that for you.
Perfect, thank you. So I can
Thanks,
see Sarah a little bit larger here.
for sure. There you are.
One
I
second.
see.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes, hello everyone. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning today, enjoying the two sessions, great presenters. And PAC, we're Procurement Assistance Canada, and we support small and medium-sized businesses navigate the federal procurement process. We did have a wonderful presenter earlier in January, Barry Payne, a coworker. So if you've missed that, please watch the WeBC recording session from January. He did a great presentation regarding that, and he presented about the quick steps to how to, find opportunities and for federal government, starting with these small steps before it becomes too complicated, because it can be a very complicated process overall. But there are easy steps to start with. Then so watch his session from January. If you have any questions or you're not sure about anything, always contact us at PAC. You can contact WeBC for more information as well. We are here to support your business, to learn how to navigate and how to respond to tenders, how to find the right opportunities for yourselves. If you need one-on-one coaching services, we're here for that as well. So we provide, and it's free. I just want to emphasize that it's also a free service. So that's what we're here for. If you have any questions, you're curious about anything, about what the federal government buys or what they're looking for, if your business fits that, then please do contact us anytime. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Sarah Ann. Yes, these sessions with Procurement Assistance Canada have been eye-opening, and we've had up to 300 people attend a session. So I'm sure we will be doing more in the future. So thank you so much, Sarah Ann, for being here today and introducing us to the topics for today, the Competition Bureau and Immigration Canada. I think, again, the more we learn, the more we know, and for these services to be completely free is amazing. When you're a small business, you never have money for that. So wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we'll do now is just highlight a few things that WeBC is doing going forward. And we're also going to be launching the feedback poll. I just want everybody to know about these SMART programs. They're pretty incredible. On our website, we have 5 programs now, anything from strategic marketing to operations to HR for your business that are completely free. And it's what's called an on-demand program. So you just go ahead and register for one of these sessions. We send you an email to get started, and you have 90 days to work through the entire session of HR, financial freedom, strategic marketing at your own pace. And in the end, you'll have actually written a manual for your business. And you have to know where you're going to get where you're going. So we really recommend these SMART programs. And the last thing is again the feedback poll. We'd like to thank everybody for being here today. There was a small question in the chat about where to go to watch the January session. Send us an email and we will send you the link. Otherwise, just go to WeBC, and I think it's on our YouTube channel, and you can go back, and the presenter's name was Barry Payne, but you'll see the PAC sessions there, and you should be able to see it. So I want everybody to know that more of these sessions are coming, and thank everybody for being here today. Please stick around if you can and do the feedback poll for us. And again, if you have something, a topic that you're super interested in, and you'd like WeBC to offer it for you in partnership with the good people at Procurement Assistance Canada or the Competition Bureau, or another organization that you think would be helpful to you, please fill out the feedback poll and just send us a little note. Jennifer just says that under resources on our website, that's where you'd find the recording from January. And all the rest of you that were on the session today, you'll receive an email from us probably tomorrow with the link to today's session. And please reach out. It's wonderful that people like Darcy and Evan and Barry are all available to talk to about things in your business that the federal government can help you with. So we hope you'll take advantage of that. And just want to say have a great day to everybody, and we'll see you for the next session. Please sign up for our e-blast newsletter, and you'll be the first person to know about the next session, and you can get right on it registered. So anyway, Jen will finish the feedback poll. We've probably got another minute left. And I don't think there's any other questions, but there are some resources in the chat, and then those will be included in the session that we, or in the email that you'll all receive tomorrow. Okay, thanks a lot, everybody, for a great session, and we'll see you again. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
It's wonderful.
Yes, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Darcy and Evan.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thanks.